Yorktown Health and Wellness Center, in which he conducts his chiropractic business. That is from whence he came. He is a resident, lifelong resident of Yorktown, and he was elected senator in 2014. He will be up for election again this year. When he was on the Yorktown Town Board, he and the board were able to develop an economic development package, if you will, worth $300 million to the town of Yorktown, which is truly significant. And that led him into running for the state senate. I'm going to go off the script here for a second, because this has been on my mind for a long time, and with Senator here, I said to him, I'm going to do a little warm-up for you. And the warm-up is, we live in the state of New York, and the state of New York in Albany, the state government that we have, is the most corrupt government in the United States of America. Now that's a terrible thing to say. And this excludes Senator Murphy, by the way. We're glad he's there, and we need more people like him there. But as it stands now, we all live in New York State and have the most corrupt government in the United States of America. And we have the record to prove it. You remember a few years ago, the governor had to step down, didn't he? Eliot Spitzer, you remember all of that. The controller, the man who is the keeper of the keys, the keeper of the books for the state, Alan Hevesy, had to step down, and he went to jail. Excuse me. Then we have currently the former Speaker of the House, Sheldon Silver, who has been convicted and will be sentenced to jail in the coming months. And then we have Dean Skelos, who was the head of the Senate, the majority leader in the Senate, has been convicted, and I guess he faces a potential jail term as well. And it seems like every week at least, we see somebody in the New York State government, senators, assemblymen, and so on, who are getting into trouble and either have to leave office or they get indicted and then are convicted. And this is just something that we are all living with, and I got to tell you, we're paying for it. We are the highest tax state in the state of New York. When you add up state taxes, income taxes, real estate taxes, sales taxes, business taxes, and all the other taxes that we live with, we're the most expensive state in the country and the most corrupt. Doesn't that tell you something? Doesn't that tell you a lot? I'm sure Senator Murphy will comment on that. The other thing is a couple of things he's been working on that I wanted to mention to give him a little lead in. One is, he mentioned to us at the table that they just passed the state budget. I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, and I'm probably off a little bit on the numbers, but the state budget right now in New York is about $150 billion. Would it be? $150 billion. You might be interested to know, when John Kennedy was President of the United States, the U.S. government budget was $275 billion. That's how far we've come. 150 in New York State alone. That was the federal budget in 1962, whatever it was, $275 billion. And today, as we all know, it's $6 trillion. 24 times what it was in 1962. We're getting blown away. So I know he may have some comments, Senator Murphy may have some comments on the budget. And incidentally, the $150 billion budget in New York State, 1/3 of that, 35%, whatever it is exactly, goes to Medicaid. You may not know that. Medicaid with a D. 1/3 of it, 35% to Medicaid. That's people that can't afford to pay their medical bills, who are, and some people need that kind of support, but we all know there's people in there that shouldn't be in there. In New York State, at least it was in the recent past, spends more on Medicaid than California and, I don't know whether it was Florida, two big states like that, combined. Senator can correct me on this, but it's something like that. It's huge. People are coming here, and they're getting on the rolls, and we're all paying for it. And again, we're the highest tax state in the country, in total. I'm not going to go any further because you want to hear Senator Murphy, not me. But he has a beautiful wife, Carolyn, and 3 children. Senator Murphy. Out of the way.
Yep. I'll dovetail. I had a few notes that I'll speak on right here, but
sure.
You said a mouthful. You said an absolute mouthful. Business-wise, tax-wise, it's at 35, roughly up around 38.7% for Medicaid in New York State. Listen, I don't think anybody in this room would throw someone out the door. We're here to help people. But when we have a problem, when people are living off the system and then going out and having a job and are making more money because they don't want to actually go out and work, we're here to help people. I get it. I'm a firm believer in smaller government, but the government that we have should take care of people who can't take care of themselves, and then take care of people who've fallen on some hard times, get their self-esteem back up, and get them back out and matriculate back out into society. 38.7%. Okay. We have roughly around 20 million people in New York State. We have close to 11 million people on living on a system. And I say living on a system. We're ranked 50th, dead last in America as a business-friendly state. It's proven. So I am the chairman of the Rules and Regulations Commission for New York State. And symbolically what I did was I took a picture of, I sat and I had all the books that surrounded me, literally surrounded me. 140,000 pages of rules and regulations in order to open up a business in New York State. So if I don't like you, or I don't like your business, I can go back to 1920 and find out something that's on the books to shut you down. This is what's going on. Nothing's ever been sunset. So I have what do I want to say, a law, a bill that's going to try and amend that with regard to look-back period from 1960 downward, and then we're going to go from 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, and 90 to 97, because they've started from 97, a 5-year look-back period. So it is crucial that we make New York an affordable place for all of us to stay. Because I have a wife, my wife Carolyn, she's a nurse over at the hospital over here. I have 3 little kids, and I'm finding it difficult to stay in New York State myself. So the #1 reason why I got involved in politics was to make it an affordable place for myself to live. I'm born and raised right here, right in Westchester County. My family history goes back 150 years. And I finally said to my wife, I said, let's just pack it in, sell everything, get the hell out of here. And she was like, well, listen, my mother and father live here, my brother lives here, my sister lives here. I said, my mom's got 19 grandchildren, I'm the youngest of 6. I said, well, my brothers and sisters live locally too. I said, either that or we're getting involved and we're fighting back. And so we started on a town council. We were there for 6 years. My number one objective was economic development. Jobs, jobs, and more jobs. And it was a matter of keeping roof over people's heads and food on the table. And we ushered in close to $250 million worth of economic development by having a liaison to the developer or people who wanted to come in, instead of it being shut down in engineering or shut down in the planning department or the building department. Where is it? Let's go. Let's keep it moving. So we did well, and the idea was, running for state senate, was to take it on a macro level. And I have literally talked to the governor about it. I'm going to say probably about 4 weeks ago, when we were at dinner at the mansion. It was myself and my colleagues. There was about 18 of us with the governor, and I had stood up, and Senator Flanagan, who's now our majority leader, he preferably wanted the older and guys that have been around the block, so to speak, talking to the governor. But I had caught him outside, And I had said to him, I said, leader, is it okay if I say a word? I said, I won't say anything, but I do want to bring up one issue, and if you don't want me to do it, please have someone else. And I said, it's the heroin epidemic. He goes, you got it, Murph. So he leans across me, and I get up and I stand to the governor. I said, Governor, I said, as the chairman of the Rules and Regulations Commission for New York State, I said, I'd love to help you out and try and open up the doors to get economic development. And he goes, Senator Murphy, we'll have another talk on that. I said, but I really stood up here to tell you was that we need your help. When I say we, it's not an R, it's not a D, it's not an I, or it's not a C. We have a massive heroin epidemic that is ravishing New York State and sweeping through the country. And the number one reason has been the overprescription of Oxycontin and Oxycodone. You have good kids, good people that are going in for a simple shoulder operation or a knee scope, and they're getting hooked on these drugs. And so I've literally, as the chairman of the New York State Task Force on Heroin and Opioid Abuse, I have traveled New York State. I've gone out to Rochester, I've gone out to Niagara, Penn Yan. I didn't even know where Penn Yan was, but it's a very rural place. And to Brooklyn, out to Long Island, to Albany, and it is you having really, really good kids. And in this year's budget, we, when we talked to the governor, and the governor said, well, Senator Murphy, I get it. We'll address that right after the budget. And there was Senator Lanza, that's from Long Island, who's actually good friends with the governor, stood up right after me and goes, and he was quite shocked, and he goes, Governor, you're wrong. This needs to be addressed now. And so we had gotten in this year's budget $166 million for prevention, treatment, recovery, and education. And it is allowing these kids right here, I worry about my kids because the peer pressure on these kids going out there, this isn't a needle in the arm anymore, folks. This is not the old days where, oh my gosh, heroin, you're a bad person. You must be in the dregs of society. I'm going to tell you right now, watch your medicine cabinets. They're targeting seniors. They're targeting our veterans. So your grandchildren or your grandchildren's friend are going to come in and say, hi, Grandma, hi, Grandpa. And they come in, I got to go to the bathroom, and they rummage through your medicine cabinet. This is what's going on. They're taking our veterans. They're targeting our veterans because they know they can get their pain medication from the VA hospital. So part of the issue when that was happening, up until last year, when my first year in, we had, it was actually illegal for a school nurse to administer the life-saving antidote Narcan on school grounds. So, not that we have a major problem with the kids doing heroin on school grounds, but God forbid, nowadays, it was illegal for them to do it. So we got that done with regards to the schools, nurses being able to administer Narcan. But I'm not a big fan of unfunded mandates. Unfunded mandates is what's driving the taxes through the roof and driving people out of here. So we funded it. We funded it and allowed the school nurses to become certified in it. So we funded it over $250,000. So every school in New York State has the option. We gave them the option. We didn't mandate it because I'm not a big fan of that. We gave them the option. Why they wouldn't want to do it, I don't know. But to the point that a lot of the schools are now doing it. Our first responders are now being trained. And you can't imagine, in Erie County, January 9th, I think it was to February 2nd, 23 overdoses and deaths. That's not people that they save. So these are things that I've been on a quote-unquote tear, traveling around New York State with regards to trying to address the epidemic on that. As far as what you talked about with the corruption, you know what? I'm not a professional politician. I said that. I'm actually a chiropractor nutritionist. The problem is, in Albany, you do have professional politicians. That's what they do for a living. If you gave them 45 cents, they couldn't make 50. Yet they're setting the table for all of us to sit at and abide by. So these are things that I'm trying to change with regards to, opening up the doors to business, allowing more businesses to have the opportunity to come into New York. And I just said earlier, I said, you know what, I'm actually a big fan of term limits. Term limits, you know what, you know, thank you for your public service and goodbye. So it's been a very interesting time up there, and you're right. Our budget is $150 billion. It is, I think, the 6th largest budget in the world. So it's been an eye-opening experience. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege to be able to go up there and what do I want to say? Learn so much, keep my eyes open, and come back and represent the people. Because, you know, I am the same as you guys. I put on my pants the same way. I am struggling along here with my wife and kids, but this is a place that I will fight to the death to make sure that I can stay. And I'm trying to do that up in Albany. And it's been very, very interesting to see some of the, how things actually work up there with regards to, just getting a bill passed, because the Senate Republicans right now are the last line of defense. And I don't say that facetiously because, like you were just talking about, in 2014, you had a mayor in New York City by the name of Bill de Blasio who dumped into the Putnam County Democratic Committee that has never had over $10,000 in it in 10 years. He dumped $692,000 in 8 days to try and take me out. In 8 days. That's what's happened. So a lot of this is just coming to the forefront within the past 72 hours. So read the daily news, read your reports. I think there's going to be more problems coming down for the mayor. You know what? People should be into this government business to do the right thing for all of us. They have agendas. This is a business for them, which is very, very disappointing, to be quite honest with you. Very disappointing that I have found out. So there's so many dynamics that you see with regards to how politics plays out. I said earlier to the former mayor here, I said, once I know everything, get me the hell out, right? Right? It's true. So I try to make my rounds. I try and be the best representative I can possibly be. You know, I try and do the right thing. I don't have an agenda. My office is open 24/7. We try and get back to everybody on every issue. It's been really, really awesome to be able to go up to Albany and be able to represent close to 350,000 people. And there's some great stuff that we've actually done here. And I had a few notes here that I was going to say, but there was the restoration of the GEA. Just Thursday, it was a great eye-opening experience for me. I had the privilege of going to a school right down the road here, the Mount Kisco Elementary School, and seeing a phenomenal principal in there. Susan, she's unbelievable. There was more Spanish-speaking kids than English-speaking kids, and I said, so how do you keep this so organized? I said, it's unbelievable. So they do, and I said, I have a 5-year-old. I said, I wish my 5-year-old was here to, and that's where you want those kids to learn that dual language, right there. And the school was so organized, the kids, I think they have 650 kids in the school over there, but they have a major problem because they're tied into the Bedford School District over here. And so they're in, I think, an $8 million deficit. So with the restoration of the GEA, which is the gap elimination adjustment, that's another whole story of how that whole thing happened, but I think, got them close to $1 million extra that they weren't expecting. So there's still more to do. And education, every single kid deserves the opportunity to succeed in America. And we need to make sure that they are given those opportunities. And it starts with education. And we have good educators educating these kids. If you think that you just want to throw them to the side, it's going to become a bigger problem in the long run. Make sure that these kids that are coming up right now have the ability to get out there and give them self-esteem to get out there and want to work and become productive citizens. So it's that was the GEA. Just trying to think of some other things. that was the heroin's a real bad problem. That's where I've been concentrating a lot of my resources, is traveling around the state with that. The education is a big one, and economic development. The rules and regulations for all of us to abide by is just, there's books. You wouldn't even know where to go. Wouldn't even know where to go. So it's been interesting. It's an honor and a privilege, again, like I said, and you know, if there's anything that you guys possibly need or anything like that, do not hesitate to call my office. I've you know, worked close with the mayor here. It's been an honor and a privilege, to be honest with you. And he's already given me some good ideas. So we have that bill that's going through, and our veterans. We talk about our veterans, and could you imagine? New York State was never, Mayor, you know what I'm going to say, was never an official benevolent order. The Vietnam veterans were never an official benevolent order in New York State for 50 years. It was bad enough when they came home, they got, you know, disrespected and spit on and talked about. Now 50 years later, so we found this out last year, and we passed the bill. The Vietnam Veterans of America are now an official benevolent order in the state of New York. And I'm happy to stand here and tell you I authored it, and it's one of my proudest pieces of legislation so far. So there's more to come, Mayor. There's a lot more to come, because you know, when our veterans are over there fighting for us, and you know, when they come home, they should have the red carpet rolled out for them. They should be taken care of. And I saw one in, and he doesn't mind me using his name, Jason Fell, was a United States Marine Corps guy, 26 years old, did a tour right out of high school, signed up and did a tour over in Afghanistan, came back home, signed back up, went back over. In his truck was blown up, IED, traumatic brain injuries, 3 surgeries, comes home, goes to our VA, gets hooked on a medication, ends up homeless out on the streets, ends up stealing. Our system failed him. He went and fought for our freedom, and our system failed him. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. No way in hell that should ever happen to anybody who fights for America. So, I'll leave you with that. All I got to say is, God bless America. If there's anything that my office could possibly do for you, you do not hesitate to ask. It is thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to be able to say thank you. Anybody with any questions for that? Al?
Yeah, Senator, the Knights are known for their strong support for life. Could you tell everybody where you stand on both beginning of life and the end of life issues?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I think you know that.
I know it, but they may not.
Listen, I am pro-life. I am the youngest of 6 kids in my family. I was born and raised an altar boy. There's no deviation from me with regards to the way I feel about from conception to the end of life, meaning assisted suicide. What's up in front of us right now is completely unacceptable. So, short and simple answer. I hope that answered it, but you can go on and elaborate if you want me a little bit more, but regards to where I stand.
No, I think it's good everybody knew where you come from.
Sure.
On this, yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that.
Sir, there's always been pain medications. There's always been athletic injuries amongst younger people. Why now is it such a problem? We're hearing more that word opiate.
Yeah, opioid.
Opiate. And why now? Why not 15 years ago? Why not 30 years ago? Why now is it all of a sudden a problem?
Because what happened was the American Medical Association made pain their 5th symptom. So they have to treat it. So instead of giving someone, when you came out of the hospital, they gave you Tylenol thread. Well, my pain's still killing me. My pain's still killing me. We got to give you something stronger. So they give you something stronger. And what happens is the opioid has become so strong that, knowing what I know, the physiology, if I write you a script for a 90 count, and you're my patient, and I did this because this is what I was told to do, and this is how the medication works. You're the pharmaceutical company, you come in, you educate me, and this, we want you to write this prescription 3 times a day for the next 30 days. I give you your 90 count. If you finish that 90 count, physiologically, you're hooked. you will have to go through withdrawal. So what we're trying to do is make sure that the medical doctors are educated, and because it's an elective. It's an elective. They don't have to take the course on pain management or anything. It's an elective for them. So anybody who's prescribing level 1 narcotics has got to have some skin in the game, so to speak. So this past summer, I went down to New Orleans for a national conference of state legislators, and I represented New York State. There was 13 other states down there. We're doing some good stuff here. We have the iStop program here. We have the e-script, the e-scribe that just came into effect. So we're trying to do the right thing, but it's become a, they start off with the opioid. So now there's no education for me how to weed you down. So now you start going through a little bit of withdrawal, and I need this stuff, I need this stuff. One of those pills goes for 20 to 50 bucks on the street. It goes for really $1 a milligram on the street. So if you can't get that, then what happens is you're turning to the heroin, the street heroin. The street heroin is cut with fentanyl, and fentanyl is used in anesthesia. And so what happens is it suppresses your breathing. And so you really don't die of an overdose. What happens if you physiologically, I don't know if you want to get into it, but you have two railroad systems in your central nervous system. One is your sympathetic nervous system, one's your parasympathetic nervous system. So when you get excited, you're using your sympathetic nervous system. When you just want to chill out and whine and dine, you're using your parasympathetic nervous system. The opioid and fentanyl overstimulate your parasympathetic nervous system and put you to sleep. And you just fall asleep. And then when you come back and someone hits you with the Narcan, the naloxone, the Narcan, you immediately, 45 seconds, you're like, oh, what happened? You didn't know you went to bed. You didn't know you died. You had no idea. And then they want to get up and they want to fight you because you ruined their high, but they didn't even know. So it's physiologically, I can tell you all about it, but what's happened is the fifth symptom of pain became very relevant that they had to address, and so the scripts went off the chart.
This Narcan that they use,
Yeah.
what steps are taken, or do we know, is that going to be a problem of its own one day, like the methadone became?
Yeah, well, put it this way, when I was a councilman, I wouldn't vote on our town budget because I had seen this coming. Unless we put money in the budget for a narcotics officer for the town of Yorktown. Mm-hmm. And hence, it started coming up. So what happened was, the pharmaceutical company that makes OxyContin, they did a, what do I want to say, a pilot test, and they had about 500,000 come out. There was a company sitting in the wings called Amstar. Amstar had the antagonistic antidote to the opioid, meaning the Narcan. Well, it went like Pez candy, the OxyContin, and they went ding ding, we're in, because they had the antidote to this. Their Narcan kit went from $19.99 to $89.99 overnight. I immediately wrote a letter to Mr. Cho, who was the CEO and president of Amstar Pharmaceutical Companies. I wrote the letter to our Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman, opening up an immediate investigation. Finally, those two, sat down and talked, and I think they came out, don't quote me on this one, but I think they came up to like $29.95 a kit with a $6 rebate if it was used. So, it's common sense doesn't mean so common. So our health commissioner, Dr. Zucker for New York State, wrote a standing order that you can now sell the Narcan over the counter. So I was just up there, and I had the Nurses Association and the Pharmaceutical Association come up to me, and now over the counter, they're selling the Narcan kits. One of the pharmacists told me $1,500. $1,500. So what they're doing, they're getting it's crazy. The drug dealers are now selling the heroin with the Narcan because they don't want to be because we're making the laws, trying to make the laws a little bit harder. And the pharmaceutical companies I'm cautiously optimistic, the kids are having skittle parties. So in their high school, they're having what's called skittle parties or farm parties. PHA, you put your pills in here, and then they're gonna go and they're gonna say, okay, you pick one out, you pick one out, you pick one out, and they're gonna say, okay, Dan, you're in charge of the Narcan tonight in case one of us go down. It's literally Russian roulette. That's what's happening. I've heard we're trying to get some sort of mechanism. This is how bad it is, and I don't mean to be the downer on this, but I do want you to be aware of make sure you are taking your medication, and if you're not, or it is expired, I personally had gotten money to make sure every single town in Westchester County and every police department has got a drop box for your medication. It's no questions asked. It has to be a police station or something that's under surveillance 24/7. You can walk right up to it, no questions asked, in the police station, drop it and walk out. Because people are flushing it down the toilet, it's becoming an environmental problem, or people are having their medication stolen from them. So, back to your Narcan, the Dr. Zucker wrote a standing order over the counter. The kids are now having the parties. I am cautiously optimistic that that is not going to cause a problem, but I don't think I'm right. I think it's going to become a bigger problem, because now they have the fail-safe right here, that in case if I need to. I mean, listen, you had the mayor up in Utica. Did you hear about that? When the mayor up in Utica wanted to have a drive-through where you can jump out of your car and get hooked up, and a nurse will shoot you up, but as long as it's safe. I had like a heroin drive-through. You can't make this up. It was in Utica, New York. So,
yeah, I have a question. Not to get too much off topic, but I think it's very related. There have been a lot of issues with bullying in our schools. It goes on regardless. You have children committing suicide. You have school systems now being sued. It's been in the news. It's in our area because of bullying. I think as far as it goes, you have young children, we have young grandchildren who are now, my daughter was bullied when she went through high school. Several of her kids in the high school were bullied. It wasn't such a prevalent newsmaker at the time, but nowadays this is a big issue.
you know why? They can never get away from it. So if you were getting bullied and I was getting bullied when we were in school, you guys were getting bullied, you went home to your nest. You went home to safety. You went home to the nucleus in your life. Nowadays, they can't go home because guess what? I'm going to get you on my phone.
Well,
And they're going to bully you over the phone. And this is exactly what's happening. The kids can never get away from this. They're getting text messages, they're getting Facebook, they're getting email. They can't get away. Social media has, is what it is, but the poor kids can't get away from this. So they've made it a conscious effort within the school districts, I do know that, of trying to, make it more awareness of bullying. Or what I would say, if you do know someone that's bullying, you immediately nip that in the bud and you go right to the school district. And there's ways, because we've put in there's been SRO officers, school resource officers, which I truly believe in, that actually find the pulse of what some good kids are, what some bad kids are. And if you can get the word out to them, they can watch those kids. That's for sure. I wouldn't hide from it. That's exactly what's been happening.
well, I think that's maybe a cause to them searching out the opioids and things of that nature so that, they don't have to deal with it.
It's a multi-pronged approach when I say the opioid. It's just, you're not talking just heroin, addict right there. Most of the time, there's some sort of mental health issue that's going through what we've seen. It's a multiple pronged theory that we're trying to address, for sure.
Okay.
And it's just, if there was a magic bullet for it, we would have been after it. But we have some really serious legislation. I mean, just so you have an idea of what we're up against, 3 weeks ago, Senator Martins introduced a bill that said we want to make it an e-felony, if you sell drugs to a 14-year-old or younger on the playground. I just make, like, really specific. So we're getting ready to vote on it, and all of a sudden the other side's like, oh, whoa, wait a second, we want to debate this. Their debate was, you just want to arrest more people. This is what happened, is you want to arrest more people, and you want to put them in prison in upstate New York to stimulate the economy. So I'm getting the video and I'm putting it on my webpage because you can't make this up. I can't make stuff up. I'm not that good to make stuff up like this. In the very next breath, the senator on the other side turns around and says, well, my people need jobs too. Like, it's okay. So, to your point, common sense isn't so common. You know, professional politicians, you know, I'm not in favor of it.
Yeah, our Supreme Knight, Carl Anderson, is pushing us knights to assist our local parishes and really build up and encourage the domestic church. I'd like to know what we can count on you and from the state to support the sanctity, the vocation, and the sacrament of marriage.
Well, I'll let you know I wasn't there for the gay marriage vote. That would not have happened for me. You know what? It's a good question, and if you have specific legislation that you're interested in, most certainly let me know, because it's legislation time. So the way the session's broken down, the first part of the year is for the budget, the second part of the year is like legislative agenda now. So we're on that now. You know, working with Al, and if you have ideas, most certainly, let us know. Let us know. I'm on your side. I just don't have all the answers. So when these things come out, or these ideas, you gotta most certainly pound the drum, or at least call the office and let me know what we can do. I mean, you've been up to Albany, you know the drill.
Last week.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but it's an open door. If you have
But thank you, sir.
if you have ideas, most certainly let me know. Anybody else?
Thank you very much, Senator.
And my sister Mary Beth is here. I'm Kate O'Keefe, one of the 5 daughters of Midge, as you all know, is my mom. Chris, of course, is my mother as well. And I also am blessed with another father, but my dad. And first of all, thank you for Senator Murphy, but I just want to announce a particular program that exists in Westchester County. It already exists, but I'm really all about awareness for this program. It's called Project Lifesaver. And 17 years ago, my mother had a traumatic brain injury. So in reference to the veteran that I just spoke about, and in reference to the Narcan, as far as time, if everybody's thought of everything that we've spoken about today, it's about time. Time is the most important thing that we can speak about in helping people. And Project Lifesaver is a system that's been put in place by Robert Estorino, and it is a system for people that wander. It is a nonprofit organization that was developed by a police officer. It's based out of Port St. Lucie. It's run by our Westchester County Police Department, and it is a transmitter system of a band that someone would wear that possibly could wander, and that could be a child of autism. It could be an adult with Alzheimer's or other issues that they may or may not have. It is a battery-operated transmitter, proven system, and on the 24-hour shift, there's always someone with Westchester County Police Department that finds a person that has wandered. This is a proven technique. It is not, stock answers that I get many times. I've been blessed enough for Mayor Cinders to allow me to present to your town board, is that many people think, well, I have a cell phone, or I put a cell phone in someone's purse or a child who may wander. This system that's in place is a transmitter that you could be in a basement, you could be in a bunker, and this system, you can be found within 30 minutes. So if you've wandered or you're not sure where you are, you have a first responder scenario that's in place that they call upon, and they're found in 30 minutes. This saves also the police department. Or first responders, they are also at risk. There's aviation is you were saying, Mr. Sindrich, or dogs, or people are out looking in the woods. Instead, they're found in a short period of time. I don't really, you were spoken to a lot today, but really the most important thing is that it's a system in place. It's free of charge to people here in Westchester County, children and adults, and no one knows about it. And I just want everybody to know about it, so I thank you for your time.
Great.
What it is for children down at the Autistic Center in Scarsdale, there is a very large system there for children. You sign up, you register, you're given a bracelet. They can either put it on your bracelet, your wrist, or your ankle. For adults, elder care down in Bronx at this time, it was somewhat up in the air whether that contract was staying there. It might be moved into Westchester County Police Department, which is what I favor. But it is a system that you sign up, it's free, you get it, and then the battery needs to be changed every couple of months. And that's also available to you about a dozen different places in Westchester County. I would love to see everyone get it who needs it. You know, just think of someone who's gone off and it's 20 degrees outside and you don't know where they are. You make a phone call and they're found. And police aren't out there either. They have families too. They're putting their lives at risk trying to find someone. So it's important that people know about it, and I just want people to know about it. So it's a free system. You can go online, westchestergov.com, find out more about it. I can help you find out more about it, but it's free. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I want to thank all our speakers today. I think we learned a lot. And we also are always looking for new members. And if anybody has anybody, just let us know. We'll certainly follow up with them. Father, would you like just a closing prayer?